So, good afternoon, everyone, and hello also to everyone joining us online. Those in the room have taken their seats, so thank you very much for being so disciplined. Please note that we have sign language interpretation as well, otherwise the proceedings are in English. So, friends and colleagues, you've made it, we've made it. We've had 4 days of very intensive, informative, and I would say sometimes inspirational discussions. And all of this work is, of course, to make sure that we strengthen cohesion and participation in our very polarized societies. So this afternoon, we're going to share the work that we've done. I will hear from you, the spokespeople, but we also have a very high-level panel of policymakers who will be responding to what the spokespeople will tell us about the discussions within the group. The rules of engagement are simple. We will have, as I said, a stellar panel, and I will introduce them in a minute individually. Once I've done the panel, we will go to all of you, and you are members, CSO members of the EESC Liaison Group with European Civil Society Networks, also a representative speaking on behalf of European Citizens Initiative Day, which took place on Tuesday, and also Your Europe, Your Say, the annual EESC youth event that took place on Thursday and Friday. So we will hear from all of them. I will introduce and call the spokespeople out by name, and your names will appear on the screens here as well. So, as I promised, let me introduce our panelists very briefly. We are absolutely honored and delighted to have with us today Ms. Henna Virkkunen. She is, of course, Executive Vice President of the European Commission, responsible for tech sovereignty, security, and democracy. We will soon have with us on the stage as well Mr. Victor Negrescu. He is the European Parliament Vice President responsible for the fight against corruption and for transparency policies. Of course, Oliver Robke, here as well, President of the European Economic and Social Committee and the host of this week. And with us also Natasha Vukovic, Secretary General, Center for Democracy Foundation, Serbia, and President of the European Association for Local Democracy, ALDA. Very welcome. And last but definitely not least, Gabriel Ceviccio, President of Civil Society Europe. Welcome to all of you. So before we start these discussions, let's have a look at how you are doing. And I'm going to have a check-in, as we did at the opening section, with Slido. So in one word, how do you feel today after 4 days of, as I said, informative, intensive, and sometimes inspirational discussions? Please go on Slido. The QR code is there. And as I said, in one word, how do you feel as we wrap up? Grateful? Very good. It's always good to have gratitude. Hopeful? Informed? Very good. Yes, keep going. Motivated? This is the best thing we could have, is motivation, right, Oliver? Fulfilled? I want that to get bigger. Joyful. Let me just say that when we did the opening session, many of you felt worried, concerned, but also hopeful. So I'm very happy to see that hopeful is coming up again. And inspired, in firefighting mode. Could you ask for more? And determined. So we see inspired, hopeful, motivated, and informed. Thank you very much indeed. We will take a screenshot, and probably you can see it later as well. All right, second question. What inspired you during this Civil Society Week? At the opening session, I may remind you, you pointed to peace, solidarity, youth, and unity as values that you, us, cared about. So now the question is, what inspired you? People. I liked people. Dialogue, youth, projects. The water discussion, okay, we'll hear about that. Bottom-up practices, is that Oliver? Okay, democracy, support for civil society engagement, but let's say it's people, youth, and projects. The conversations were interesting, and of course, diversity, and once again, hopeful. So thank you very much indeed for that. So we're getting quite a good picture, Executive Vice President, you're getting quite a good picture of what we've been talking about and how we're feeling today. And that's a good start, right? It's a good start for our panel discussion on the next steps for more cohesive societies. So we will be talking about the key challenges that civil society faces today, but also we'll be talking about the strengths. So to the panelists, please limit your responses to 3 minutes initially. Executive Vice President, you have 5 minutes, of course, for your first response, because we know that you have to leave early, and we understand that, of course. So may I start with you, Executive Vice President? What about civil society today inspires you? What are the challenges, and how do you see the strengths? I think it's on.
Maybe it's on?
Yes,
it is on. Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to represent our European Commission here. And of course, it was very encouraging also to see how you feel after 4 days, because I was expecting that maybe someone is writing that you feel tired, for example, after 4 days. But no, you were inspired and hopeful and so on. So it was very great to see. From the European Commission side, when we speak about our civil society, we see that it's, of course, it's vital for our democracy, and you know that the European Union, it's established by the countries who want to share same democratic values, and of course our civil society is in heart of that. So it's a bridge between our citizens and public institutions to ensure also our accountability and participation, and also the fundamental rights. And from our perspective, from the Commission's perspective, the European Economic and Social Committee is the voice of civil society in Europe, and that's why we want to very closely cooperate with this organization. And I think this week's events also underlines this ambition. So that's why in the Commission we want to work very closely with you and with the EESC to further also empower our civil society organizations across European Union. We see that it's one of our strengths in the European Union that we have very strong and mature and lively civil society. And this is crucial, like I said, for our democracy. But at the same time, we see also that our democracy and society also are facing challenges. We know that we are very much under attack, and also our democratic values. And we see that we can't take democracy for granted, because many factors, such as geopolitical tensions and the fast evolving online landscape, they put pressure on our democracies. We know that when it comes to online platforms, they are giving many opportunities for our civil society and for our democracy, but they are also spreading new threats. And we see also increasing number of internal and foreign actors exploiting the information space to attack citizens' trust on democratic institutions. The result is a very worrying polarization also of the public debate at national, European, global levels that we can see in different member states, and also in the European level, and also globally, that there is more and more polarization also when it comes to civic discourse. And we know that civil society organizations are also facing increasing challenges in your work, with many disinformation actors also trying to undermine your work. And such threats need to be urgently addressed, as they risk also weakening both our social cohesion but also our democratic participation. And especially maybe a few words about the digital world, because especially as a Vice President of Technology and Security and Democracy, I can see also that nowadays all these are very much interlinked when we speak about technology, security and democracy. And like I said, online platforms, for example, and digitalization is a great asset, of course, when it comes to civic discourse and for democracies. as such, but it can be also used against us. So that's why in the European level we have created rules also to digital world. We want to make sure that also in digital environment we have a high level of privacy, we have safety, we have fair and democratic environment also when it comes to digital world. And we want to make sure that everything, for example, what is illegal in our societies, it's also illegal online. So we want to have very clear rules and make sure that everybody has democratic and fair, safe environment also in digital world. And that's why we have Digital Service Act, a very strong tool which requires more transparency for online platform side, and they have to also mitigate and assess the systematic risks, for example, what they are posing to civic discourse and for the democracies and, for example, for the electoral processes. And we have also a code of conduct on disinformation. We have agreed on that with the stakeholders, and it's going to be part of this DSA regulatory framework. And it also plays a key role in fighting polarization, because it provides clear commitments from the online platform side how to address disinformation, for example. And it's also important to remember that we have to all the time also protect rule of law in the European Union, and it's one of our main priorities. And the latest edition also when it comes to rule of law report, it also covers media pluralism, but also our institutional checks and balances, and both are crucial for driving civil society. So what I see that what is crucial when we speak about our civil society and also our civic discourse is to make sure that we have free and independent media, and we have also rules when it comes to digital world, but we have to also support the education of our citizens all over the member states. We have to make sure that we have good basic education, good digital skills and literacy among our citizens, because we know that now more and more different disinformation and fake news are all the time spread also in online world, even that we have rules in place. And that's why we have to also strengthen our civil society and build up the resilience of our societies. And it's going to play a very important role now in one of our major initiatives we are now working with. It's so-called Democracy Shield. And there will be four important chapters on this, or sectors. First, about disinformation. We want to make sure that we can tackle the foreign information manipulation and interference in the European Union. Also, we want to make sure that we have fair and we can take care of fairness and integrity of elections. And also we want to build up this societal resilience and preparedness, and also citizens' participation and engagement, of course, are crucial pillars. And just in the coming days, we will open consultations on this Democracy Shield, and we are very much also looking forward for your recommendations and ideas for that. So, to conclude, so we see that this is a crucial part of our democracies, that we have lively civic discourse and civil society, but in the same time we see many risks, and we want to strengthen the civil society, and this Democracy Shield is a very important part of that.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Virkunen. You've been very explicit, and I have to say very clear-eyed about the challenges and the risks that civil society and our democracies face. There is pressure on social media, there is disinformation. We need clear rules, you say, and also the point you've made very important, there will be consultations with civil society on building this Democracy Shield that you talk about. So thank you very much indeed. Let me turn now to you, European Parliament Vice President Victor Negrescu, to also answer the question that I have for all our panelists, which is the key challenges you believe civil society faces today, as well as where you see our strengths.
So first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm replacing two other colleagues, Vice President of the European Parliament, so sorry for being briefly late. But I want to mention something very clearly since the beginning, because this is what I feel right now. We are failing. We are failing in protecting our democracies. And of course, it's firstly a failure of the political system, of democratic political parties that failed, of course, to isolate the aggressive rhetoric, the anti-democratic speech, the radical proposals, the extremists. We have failed. They, in the building next to you, in the European Parliament, they represent more than 30%. In some of the national parliament, they won already the elections. The far right has a strong influence also in Washington today. So we have failed. But I also need to mention that you are also failing, because you, the civil society, play an important role in protecting our democracies, in making sure that we promote our values, in making sure that democracy will be considered by our citizens as being key for their future. Today, if you look at polls, and if you ask especially young people about what they expect to happen in the future and what they expect from politics and from decision makers, they say, we want someone tough that will make decisions for us, which will tell us what we need to do, someone that is courageous, not someone that has projects, not someone that listens, not someone that is tolerant, not someone that loves democracy. And I'm mentioning that because, of course, I come from Romania and I cannot ignore what happened in the last couple of months. And I want to mention this as straight as possible in order also to call upon you to react, because we need to react, dear friends. We need, of course, to show strength, but we also need to underline once more why we need a strong democratic system, strong civil society, a real partnership between the civil society and decision makers. Why we need to interact, why we need to discuss, maybe not always listen to you, but to have a possibility to consult each other, to listen to each other, but also mainly to build things that are consistent, that really have an impact in people's lives. And I think Europe has the biggest responsibility because, yeah, I think here we can actually do that in a fruitful way. So we are engaging in a consolidated dialogue with the European Economic and Social Committee, but I think we need to do even more. I was discussing with Oliver a couple of months ago about the possibility to really introduce a consolidated mechanism to cooperate with you and to integrate your opinions, because this institution is building very strong opinions. I tell you, this is my third mandate in the European Parliament. I always listen or read the opinions that you are drafting. They are very strong, very consistent. But not all my colleagues are doing that. And I think we should do that in a way that also has results. So this is the first thing I think that the Parliament can do. The second thing that the Parliament could do is, of course, also consult the civil society when it comes to the elaboration of different policies, also at committee level, because a lot of the work is being done at committee level. But also to try to interact with you before we think about our proposals, so we can actually transform the conversation in amendments and things that really have an impact. But again, what I also think we should do is to react. So therefore, I think there are a couple of moments that we missed, that just happened. We didn't react when some political players pointed out to some of the NGOs that worked for the Commission, that did a good job, when they were presented in the media as being NGOs paid to do the propaganda of Europe. The article was published in some well-known media networks here in Brussels, but also in some of our member states. The reaction was weak. In my home country, Romania, people from the civil society, including politicians like myself, we are on a list because we promoted, they say, a progressive agenda. They tell everyone that we are with Soros, and they also tell everyone that we should be killed or imprisoned if the far right wins the elections. The reaction in Romania was beyond weak to those kind of statements. The reaction from Brussels was zero. So, dear friends, I think I will conclude. The week that you have organized here is a great example of participation, of interaction, of listening to each other. Congratulations again for doing this. It's a wonderful example of how to work together at European level. But we also need to be bold. We need a democratic courage, not a radical courage. And to be very frank, if you want politicians to do something, again, I'm going to put all the burden on you. You are the only ones that can wake up politicians. So be as you usually are, courageous, fighting for your opinions, and don't let the politicians swift more to the far right, because this can be even more dangerous than it already is. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Quite a call for action. Thank you very much for that, and also for promising even more consultations and cooperation with the civil societies. Thank you very much indeed. A really important call for action for all of us, I think, to be more reactive when we feel that our democracies are in peril. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Now, Oliver, for you as well, the same question: strengths and challenges.
Thank you very much, Shada. I just I remember the Monday when we kicked off this civil society week. It was I would say, a packed week full of activities, of inspiration. And I'm really grateful that Executive Vice President Virkkunen and Vice President Negrescu, dear Victor, and also Gabriela and Natasha here are with us to discuss the recommendations, the outcome of this Civil Society Week. I think the recommendations are important, but it's not only the recommendations, it's also the process. The process makes or is part of this whole exercise, of the involvement of civil society, because I'm not sure if we failed, but Victor, you are right. We are challenged. We are challenged, and we cannot do business as usual as we did in previous years. I think we have to be more vocal, and I think we are more vocal. We have to stand up for our rights and for our interests, and we do it. We do it, but we have to double our efforts. And I think I don't have to name all the challenges that are ahead of us and that we experienced in last month, but we can see there's clearly a democratic backsliding, not only anymore outside the European Union, also within the European Union. And we were discussing, I just discussed with journalists also from outside the EU, and I think we can stand up for our model and we can promote our model only if we also make sure that our own house respects the democratic rules. So therefore, I think, yes, you are right. We have to be more vocal. We have to be bold in our demands. And when it comes to attacks on civil society, I will clearly say that civil society, especially NGOs, often the first target of those attacks. But we know that it can follow in the next step. It can be trade unions, it can be even employers' organizations and their independence. So we are sitting in the same boat, and I think we share the same interests here. And therefore, I'm grateful for the bold demands and for the discussions that we had. Let me just mention one of the recent challenges, and this is the question of funding NGOs. It was also one of the key topics here. We know that from the core of our democracy, from the European Parliament, there came attacks, we know, from the usual suspects, but also from other actors, undermining the system, and not only targeting civil society, targeting also the Commission, to be very clear. And I think we reacted to this immediately. We were approached by civil society organizations. We arranged a debate in our plenary session where we were bold and clear that we cannot allow this. Of course, we are always in favor of transparency, clear rules, but we cannot allow that civil society organizations are undermined. We know this model. It starts always with undermining the credibility. The next step are direct attacks, and then to tone down the critical voices. We know it from the media, but we know it also from civil society. So this is absolutely important, and I would like to underline that this committee plays its role. We have our fundamental rights group. We have a strong initiative for journalists, for media freedom in this house, and I would like to mention once again also our enlargement candidate members initiative. We look beyond our borders. We cannot only look within the EU. We have to go beyond, and we have to empower civil society and social partners already now in candidate countries. Therefore, we involve them already in our work. I'm happy that we have them also with us here, even on the podium. I think it's nothing special anymore in this house, and this is good. Should be a normality that we build also resilient structures in these countries to make sure that further enlargements are really a success story. And I think last but not least, we also underlined that initiatives like the ECI, the European Citizens Initiative, have to be strengthened. And last but not least, the Civil Society Prize that we just rewarded 3 winners. And I'm really grateful that the first prize went to young people from Slovakia combating disinformation, especially among young persons, youngsters. I think this is so important, and I think it's encouraging, but once again, we are not alone. There are a lot of, also among the population, there are a lot of voices not sharing our values, and I think we have to reach out also to them, to rural areas where more, I would say, skepticism is spread, to win all these people for our democratic system, because if we want to defend our values, then we need everybody on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Indeed, and it's not business as usual, and we have to mobilize all our forces and our collective strength, as you said. Also, winds blowing from across the Atlantic are making things even more complicated for us. Natasha, not business as usual, is it, from your point of view? Either.
Thank you. No, not business as usual. Thank you very much first for the invitation to participate at this closing session and to present the European Association for Local Democracy, but also a Serbian-based organization which I come from, Center for Democracy Foundation, which is now a voice of, a part of the civil society in Europe, which is seriously under attack. I would like first to refer to previous speakers who were speaking about the perils of the democracy in peril, the democracy that is in crisis. And I would say, that democracy is not in crisis only because it has a lot of enemies, but also because it does not have a lot of friends or sufficient friends. So this is the role and the task of the civil society as I see it. And when I saw this message, from the beginning, that we are hopeful and that we still somehow believe in what we advocate, I also see an optimism here. And from the Serbian experience we see these days, we see that when we think that all those beliefs and the values of the rule of law, of democracy, of the importance of citizens' participation is forgotten, that somehow from the profoundness of a society it comes out and it is alive, and that is something that is encouraging, I think, for all of us, and I think that we should share and support this experience. When we speak about the values, the strengths of the civil society, I would say first of all that values are something that is the most important, and this democracy and rule of law and citizens' participation and solidarity is something that we all share. What gives us strength is actually our constituency. And now I would just like to show the example of ALDA, of the European Association for Local Democracy, which really works hard to enable and ensure that in its work it takes into account the constituency, the local associations, but also local authorities, and to build networks among stakeholders, which is of the utmost importance. This is what actually initiates and ensures this inclusive dialogue of decision makers, duty bearers, and the citizens. So we actually serve as a bridge between the citizens and the decision makers. Parallel with the representative democracy, which has its failures as well, but we cannot live without it. So that is one of the very important strengths. I would also say that we share a lot of knowledge, and that we can provide a lot of assistance to other stakeholders, to citizens associations all around our countries, but also to decision makers, to parliamentarians, And I think that this knowledge that is shared by civil society organizations is of the utmost importance. And this capacity for cooperation with other stakeholders, as I already mentioned. When we speak about challenges, yes, the challenge is that there is this shrinking of the civic and democratic space. Also in the European Union in some parts, but particularly also in the candidate countries. And there I would like to stress the importance, and I would like to thank the European Economic and Social Committee for this important initiative that President Röpke just mentioned, which actually enables the civil society parts, trade unions, CSOs, employers, actually to be the first, in a way, observer members of a European institution, which is a great encouragement. And thank you for continuing this initiative. It's of the utmost importance. We shall certainly speak about the challenging problem of sustainability of civil society work. The challenge of funding in current circumstances, which of course present a problem of also a vulnerability of civil society organization. I think that's very important. Spreading of anti-democratic narrative, which you already addressed, is of course the challenge that we all face. I would like to stress this that this anti-democratic narrative, also anti-European narrative, everywhere, so also in the European Union, but also in the candidate countries, actually provides for civil society an opportunity to play a crucial role in attacking, in fighting this anti-democratic narrative at one side, but at the same side, at the same moment, it is actually further limiting our message transfer. So that is also very important. And as we speak, what we shall do in that regard, I think that we shall, as my colleague Antonella Valmorbida usually said, we shall decode actually European Union and its benefit to the citizens. It's how to decode its contribution to democracy, to the rule of law, to everyday life of citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Natasha, as well. As we go forward into our conversation, we'll have an opportunity to discuss many of those issues in further detail. Gabriele, this role of civil society to be the bridge with institutions and with policymakers, politicians, what are the challenges and what are the strengths we have as civil society when we embark on that mission?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the opportunity to be here as well on behalf of Civil Society Europe. I think many of the challenges have already been mentioned. The attacks, the undermining of our role, the lack of funding, particularly the lack of core funding. I was struck by the word projects mentioned in the word cloud. And one of the things that we're always stressing about funding is it's not just a question of more funding for civil society, it's a question of the right funding, targeted funding, and particularly funding for the core costs of the organization to contribute to the sustainability of the organization. We've been quite concerned with the beginnings of the conversations around the new MFF, and rather than hearing and we're talking about, how much money to give to civil society, in what way, even the question of if we should be giving European Union money to civil society is coming up. I really don't think that there should be the if. We have to do more to get away from this kind of discourse. We have to be perhaps louder, stronger, put our messages in a different way so that we can build this bridge and help our policymakers see why civil society is so essential. Civil society is more than service provision. I think many policymakers tend to think of civil society as organizations who fill the gaps, who provide essential services. Yes, very important role of many civil society organizations. But civil society is an essential part of democracy. It's a core part of participation. From the smallest village to the largest town to the EU level, we need to protect that space, and we need to make sure that especially children and young people, but not only, everybody has access to that space, has the skills, the digital skills, the media literacy skills, that they can access that space and join the conversation that members of Civil Society Europe and others are providing. In terms of the strengths, I think we see it here in the room. We see committed people, energized people, knowledgeable people. There are many people in Europe who are shrugging their shoulders and saying it is what it is. We just have to carry on. We cannot do anything about it. But we also know that there's a huge wealth of potential within civil society organizations, people who believe that we can do something, we can change the narrative, and we can make sure that we create the Europe that we want to see and not the Europe that some of the people attacking Europe are trying to achieve.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. So motivated. Thank you very much to all of you for setting us on the path. And as I said, we'd be discovering and exploring some of the questions all of you have raised in further detail. So we're going to start with the spokespersons of the different groups. And you've been talking about the 1, 2, 3 steps that are needed in your specializations, in your area of interest to go forward and to strengthen the cohesion of our societies, which are polarized. And I'd like to turn now, first of all, I need the microphone for Nicolo. So we have all the panelists here, and thank you. I have a panel thing. So Nicolo, let's get, you were presenting, and you will be presenting the topic of technology for the common good, the innovation we need in a democratic, inclusive, and competitive Europe. And you are the European Citizen Action Service. So you have 2 minutes to give us your 1, 2, 3 steps. Please. Do stand up.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So the workshop happened yesterday here in this room, 2 days ago in this room, and was co-organized by ICAS, European Action Service, the Social Economy Europe, European Parent Association, and the European Association of Institute of Vocational Training. Thank you.
Yeah.
And of course, I want to thank the people who organized the workshop and the people who participate in this workshop. More than 100 people here in this room in 10 tables discussing about technology. And now I'm going to read the 3 steps. They came out from this work. So first, as there is currently no clear vision at the EU level, we call upon the Commission to co-design together with all stakeholders, and especially starting with citizens, a true democratic digital space based on European value, principle, and rights. Is it crucial that the European institutions ensure the implementation of already existing regulation in protecting citizens and lead by example in using and promoting European technology that do respect those core principles and values. The second step, we urgently recommend the European Commission to prioritize the development and implementation of an inclusive and equitable European skill agenda. The agenda must embed that core competencies, including a robust digital literacy, analytical and critical thinking, and essential transversal skills, values, and attitudes. Those skills will enable all citizens to actively participate in European democracy, digital economy, drive innovation, and make informed decisions while effectively addressing the ethical and societal challenges posed by emerging technologies and, of course, artificial intelligence. Third, the EU needs to not only increase its investments and long-term funding in safe digital structures, but also invest more in its people, or in order for them to know how truly live in the digital spaces. Technology must be used for the common good. It can help overcome the barriers of exclusion. For example, technology to allow participation of people with disability in the democratic space, or it can allow citizens to connect with and monitor their representatives in policy making to increase accountability. Those are, this is the technology we stand for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd ask you, Executive Vice President, to respond to what Niccolò has said about the importance of digital spaces, democratic digital spaces.
Yes, thank you very much, Niccolò, and everybody who has been working with this. I think very good recommendations and ideas from your side, and I think this is exactly what we want also when we speak about our digital environment, that we want to make sure that it's a democratic and safe and fair, and also people can keep their privacy there. We know that there is many challenges because the technologies are also, they are developing now very fast, and especially, for example, when we look at AI, of course, it's giving many new opportunities also for us, but also posing new risks. So we want to make sure that we have, like you were also underlining, the role or the importance of common good, that in the European Union we want to have all the time very human-centric approach when it comes to technologies. We want to make sure that we as human beings, we are anyway in the driver's seat, and it's not the technology who is controlling and taking the place. That it's anyway, we as human beings who are making decisions, and we are controlling all the technologies in the same time when we can also use these new opportunities. So I think it was very good ideas you had there. And especially now when it comes to digital services, we have good legislation in place. It just came into the force 1.5 years ago, so we are still implementing it and enforcing it with the stakeholders. But I want to underline that Commission has opened many investigations against the very big online platforms, because we can see that they are not complying with our rules and they are not taking their responsibilities, for example, how they should assess and mitigate the risks their systems are posing for democracies or for people's well-being also, because we know that some of the platforms are using very addicting algorithms, and the people, and especially kids, are using very much time on those platforms, and often also the content what is shown, for example, for the minors, it's not fitting for their age. So there's many problems, and also with the transparency. But also good steps has been taken, and in the same time when we are having these many investigations going on, we have been also working with the Code of Conduct against hate speech, Code of Conduct against disinformation. We have proposed several guidelines, for example, about electoral processes, how the online platforms should mitigate the risks when it comes to electoral processes. And here we have also very new electoral toolkit, what we are also using with the online platforms. So we have been doing a lot, but all the support from the civil society side is also very much needed. And now know that civil society plays important role, for example, when it comes to so-called trusted flaggers, who are also notifying the content on online platforms, for example. And in the European Commission, we are now working also with the civil society strategy, and we are going to have a civil society platform also to support the dialogue with our civil society when it comes not only to digital part, but for whole society. And then shortly about the skills agenda and investing to people, super important things, because we know that it's the best investment we can do for our societies and for the future of our societies, but also for the people's own future, that we are investing in education and skills all over the world. And especially, of course, we are now focusing to Europe in this discussion. This is competence of member states when we are speaking about education, but we have to encourage member states to do more here, and also to give opportunities for people to update also their skills, and especially, like you were underlining, the role of digital literacy and digital skills. These are very much needed in nowadays world. So I can't more agree. Just as you saw 2 weeks ago, Commission was publishing our skills strategy, skills agenda, and the digital part is playing a very important role here, because we know that there's a big gap now with the needs and with the skills of the people we have nowadays. And I'm very much agreeing with you that we have to invest to people, because it's the best investments we can do for the future. So I very much thank you for your work, the whole group, and especially you, Niccolò, for your leadership here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that you have to leave now, Executive Vice President, so thank you very much indeed for coming, and we look forward to the next time we have you over. We say, please give the Executive Vice President a very warm hand, and thank you very much indeed. Yes. Right. Oliver, now I think perhaps you can just comment a little bit on what has been said, given that you've been working on these issues. Would you? I will sit here now.
Yeah, that's good. It's a pity that Hannah has to go now, I understand, of course, because I just wanted to say some nice words, because we met during the AI Action Summit in Paris. And I have to say, I very much welcome your recommendations. Not only me personally, but I think your recommendations are very much in line with the position of this committee that AI must serve people. It must be used as an innovation. We don't want to over-regulate anything, to kill it. But I think we have to make sure that AI really serves economy and the people. And I mentioned the AI Summit because we very much agreed, we were on one panel, and we very much agreed that totally, to leave it totally unregulated, artificial intelligence, would be, of course, highly dangerous. We know that AI is not value neutral. On the contrary, there are a lot of risks. But we saw also from business representatives from the US who actually commended Europe on our legislation, on the AI Act, for example, because also they need a certain security when they make their decisions. And to leave something totally unregulated, I think it doesn't serve anybody. And I have to say, I was really irritated by the speech. I have to say this again, by Vice President Vance. I think this is absolutely nothing of his speech really stands for the model of AI that we represent here in this house. And I think there's a second point, that we cannot leave AI just to the giants. We cannot leave it to the tech giants alone. We have to take the lessons from social media, where we see that Europe has a lot of resources, and also in artificial intelligence when it comes to research and development. We are not lagging behind. But when it comes to the implementation, then we see that the US is here in the front, and probably also China very soon. And I think this has to be changed, and this can be only changed if we have a coherent European approach and not a national approach when it comes to artificial intelligence. So we have been really at the forefront of this debate. We are supporting also that social justice must be in the core of this debate, and specifically when it comes to AI in the world of labor. I think we have to make sure that this can benefit businesses, but also workers, and that the human in command principle must be ensured. And the best way is to involve civil society, and when it comes to labor, of course, the trade unions and the social partners. I think we have to insist on this, because then artificial intelligence can really serve the economy and also the society as a whole, and only then we can really boost innovation. So therefore, I welcome very much your recommendations. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much, Oliver. Yes, I was. Go ahead. A few words from yourself as well.
Yes.
Vice President.
Can I continue to be disruptive in today's debate?
Yes.
Next time I will be more calmer.
No, don't be.
So thank you again for the inputs. I think they are really important, and those are valid inputs that certainly I will take on board in my work in the European Parliament. In the same time, there are questions for which we need to offer a proper answer. So what the anti-democrats are saying everywhere in the world, they say that European rules, like DSA for instance, are blocking freedom of speech. So what most likely will say to the proposal that you just made, they will also say that you are blocking the freedom of speech because you want filters. In order to make sure this is a democratic space, you will introduce some checks and balances. And once you introduce the checks and balances that we love here in Europe, that I support, they will again say that you are fighting against the freedom of speech. My question to you, because I understood we can ask questions as well, huh? Is whether you have an answer to that. Because this is the most challenging issue right now. We have DSA, and of course, now some companies ask Europe to change DSA. By the way, I would have loved to hear from the Commission saying, in the omnibus proposals, we will make no steps back on DSA. Probably they will make steps back. So, but the core issue is that one, because this refers to who filters, whether we will continue to have those organizations that will enable us to make sure that the digital environment is a safe space. This is very much linked also to the financing of political campaigns, foreign interference, and so forth. And last but not least, details. Details are important. The follow-up, I think this is the biggest challenge at European level. So on the DSA, again, I'm speaking from the Romanian experience, we just experienced foreign interference and so forth. But one example, in the DSA it says that if you identify fake information online, false information, you need to go at national level to a judge. The judge needs to confirm that this is fake information to make a decision. Based on the decision, you send the information to the platform while sending the information in parallel to the Commission that has a team that helps you take down the information. And it works. It takes a little bit long, but it works. It's mentioned in DSA. But if the people that introduce for the first time the fake news change a little bit the video, a little bit the wording, and repost again, you have to do the same procedure once more from scratch. So basically, it's a vicious circle. So I think it's also important to work together with you, especially at local level. I really appreciate what you said, the importance of local presence, to see how we can react faster, but also, correct problems in our regulations so they are more effective. So therefore, of course, people do not consider regulation as being an administrative burden, but actually checks and balances for them.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to come in very quickly on the points raised by Mr. Negrescu? Anyone want to come back on this, or we can move on? Yes, please. Please. Just identify yourself very quickly.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Arja Krauchenberg. I'm representing the European Parents Association, and we were part of the workshop that was just presented, and also part of the recommendations. I am sometimes also very depressed, and I can feel in Victor's speech how the depression today got over him, and I can fully understand that. But maybe we should take a few things in mind. First of all, failing, you know what fail means? Fail is first attempt in learning. So I think we can learn from what is happening. This is one of the great things that human beings can do. Secondly, yes, you're right. Back there in the parliament, they have 30%. But there's 70% on the other side. Yeah? So let's work with the 70%. And regarding your question about the freedom of speech, freedom of speech is a highly appreciated common good. But that does not mean that you can attack people. Freedom of speech has to be learned at home. I'm not for nothing here representing parents. We have a very decisive role in this. How we educate our children to respect other people and what you say and how you say it is extremely important. Let's try to all educate our children, but also the people around us about what we want to see there. We are the majority of people. Let us not be put down by the minority that use hate speech and discrimination. And when it comes to social platforms, you have seen what is happening to X. People are leaving. We are not married, neither to X, nor to Facebook, nor to Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, for that matter. Yeah? We can make a choice, and we can put up European social media, European platforms, and we can use them together and establish the rules and regulations and the checks and balances that we want to see there. It doesn't mean that because on the other side of the ocean we have a president who doesn't care about checks and balances any longer, that were in place in the United States when I went there. I don't tell you when. I think we need to make a conscious choice, and it's possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Very powerful points made there. So we'll go down the list and or up the list. Piotr Sadowski, lifelong learning platform, and the debate you had was on charting Europe's course, reconnecting polarized societies through community learning and citizenship education. So Piotr, I'll hold it.
I can stand here, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I'd like to keep control of the microphone, but I trust you for 2 minutes.
You will definitely hear no more than 2 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. Feels like it was 5 minutes ago I was on this stage moderating the panel on Monday. Today we're here on Thursday, but thank you very much to everyone who helped to shape these recommendations, especially Alexander from ALDE. Victor, I'm really happy that actually you're here today because what I'm going to say will resonate with you, and thanks for your leadership on the first intergroup on education and skills in the Parliament. Our recommendations are to invest in lifelong learning, civic engagement and dialogue by integrating modules on dialogue, critical thinking and media literacy into basic skills training programs, which can be funded through the action plan to foster active citizenship and counter-polarization. Second one is to empower citizens through education and participation. How? By implementing structured student participation mechanisms within the European Education Area framework, ensuring teacher training includes modules on citizenship education and fostering inclusive learning environments. And the third one is to prioritize local initiatives in inclusive language by utilizing the Union of Equalities framework to fund community-level initiatives which build social cohesion and review educational materials and public discourse for language that is inclusive, ensuring that all initiatives are really tailored to local needs and promote a people-centered approach. And I think I fit it under 2 minutes.
You have indeed. Thank you, Piotr. Thank you very much indeed. So, Natasha, would you like to respond to Piotr?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your report. I would like to stress the importance of overcoming the polarization by setting really useful and effective platforms and projects for that. I would also refer to Alda's experience in that, because when you speak about citizens, why local democracy is important, how it can benefit the everyday life of people, how actually democracy enables you to voice your concerns, to make your voice being heard in the community, on local level first, and then possibly also to the national level. Then I think that citizens realize really the importance of various democratic tools. What we see is that, you know, the polarization is not only political. There are many dividing channels in today's society. For example, when we spoke also about AI and innovation, I think that lifelong learning is particularly important in that area. And what we see actually also, I don't want to be boring with this new Serbian experience, but what we see that the youth actually ensures intergenerational gap to be overcome, which is very, very important, I think, with this big divide that exists in modern societies between the young people and the older generations. And then also there is this divide between urban and rural. So this is also something that we shall overcome. The polarization is very deep on that level. So this various platforms and projects can be really established on that. You know, I think that we shall see also how to improve various tools of direct democracies on the ground. This is also particularly important for local level, but also maybe on other levels this can be improved and diversified and so on. I think those are the most important.
Thank you, Natasha. Gabriela, do you want to come in on any points?
Well, first of all, to say that absolutely from the side of Civil Society Europe, we agree with these recommendations. Also, coming as director of the Center for European Volunteering, we, of course, want to stress as well the role of volunteering as part of this local activism, this local participation in democracy. And this is something that can be very much facilitated through schools, through service learning, part of this overall offer around civic competencies. And absolutely, civic competencies need to be included as part of the basic skills for children and young people, but also there needs to be opportunities to gain civic competencies for people of all ages. And the question of polarization, as you mentioned, is not and should not be just thought about along, party political divides. There are all the elements that you have suggested, and I think the generational gap with demographic changes in Europe is one that we're going to see widen, and it's one that through exactly civic competencies and these kind of experiences we can really address. These aspects around civic competence as well need to be a core component of the European Democracy Shield. I think we need to think in the broadest possible terms what we understand and what we would like to see in this European Democracy Shield, and I can only encourage everybody to think about these recommendations that we just heard and all the others when we give the feedback in the public consultation around the Democracy Shield, and we try to ensure that these elements are also taken into account.
Thank you very much indeed. Gabriela, anyone want to come in on this and make a quick point? I don't see a hand, so we will move on. You do? Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, please. A quick comment is welcome. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm coming from Nanterre University. I come back to my words the first day. I think there are some professors or doctoral students, we have to direct more researches on social society, on the evolution of social society. If you had to judge, to give your opinion on social society, composition, nature, signals, 20 years ago on America, Germany, French, all our countries, and if you compare it today, you will see the social society changed completely, and I think we have to study the reasons of the changing, and without this base of knowledge, we can't construct a strategy, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. As we go now to Elena Mastantuono, she is a member of the EESC, and you're reporting back on the day of the European Citizens Initiative, which is, of course, a very important part of democracy. Without it, people may lose even further their trust. 3 minutes. I'm happy to hand this to you, but I shall be monitoring the time. It's on. Yeah, no, fair enough.
But it's better now. It's on. It's switched on. Yeah. So thank you very much, Shada. I would like to share the conclusions of the 14th edition of the European Citizens Initiative Day that took place on Tuesday during this Civil Society Week. And unfortunately, I could not be present, but it was my colleague. She is a chair of the EESC ad hoc group, Violeta Jelic. And because she's ill, I am replacing her today. But she really enjoyed the discussion on Tuesday. She told me that the participation is increasing year by year. So I think that the civil society sees the European Citizens Initiative as a powerful tool. However, it also sees its weak points. Mm-hmm. And the participants warned that there is still a long way to go to reach its full potential. And if we don't correct the weak points, they might lose trust in this instrument, which also can weaken the participation in the democratic process. So you said we failed. I think we still have some time to repair it. So we had great recommendations saying that we really need to reinforce the impact in the legislative process of this. So the follow-up of the ECI is very much important in the EU institutions, also in the European Parliament. They highlighted that. They also want to raise more the awareness of such a tool. They also want to do more capacity building of the ECI organizers. So it has been mentioned financing also is needed there, but they would like also to learn from each other. So these are conclusions that they recommend for us. But what is also good that they found that there is not only the ECI as an instrument to raise their voice, but they can also push their ideas through different channels at national level, like through region and local governments, but also through National Economic and Social Council. And then in the end, we are in the EESC, so you can also push your ideas through your members in the European Economic and Social Committee. So I also plead, just raise your voice. It's important. There are different tools and different channels how you can push your ideas, but never give up. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Victor Negrescu, would you like to respond to what has just been said?
So I also support, again, your call to reinforce the mechanism and make it effective. I think we need some results. And generally speaking, I think we need to identify more ways or better ways to allow citizens to participate actively to decision making and to policy making. In the European Parliament, for instance, we also have the Petty Committee, and we have petitions, and some of the petitions have a follow-up, they don't have a follow-up. We have regular consultations also with citizens. But I believe we need to do more. Sometimes everything, it's a little bit too bureaucratic. I remember the conference on the future of Europe, I was part of it. Again, citizens' participation was too bureaucratic. Here, again, you know, MEPs, we have local offices, but our assistants are not allowed actually so much to engage with others because they have specific rules, what they are allowed and what they are not allowed, which also, again, forbids us to enter in contact with citizens. So, again, if you have specific recommendations on how to do that, on how we can be supportive of these kind of initiatives, if there are specific initiatives that the civil society is supporting, that you want us to raise awareness on them, maybe it might be interesting maybe to do an event in the building next door with some of those interesting initiatives that were launched by the civil society, just to give more visibility to them and show that there is interest, and maybe why not some of them will actually manage to turn out in concrete policies, if not by the procedure itself, at least through decision makers that pick up the idea and promote it afterwards.
Thank you very much, Victor. Oliver?
Yes, very briefly. First of all, thank you, Alena, for presenting these findings, and thank you to the colleagues who worked on this. I think it's not a surprise that here in this house, as organized civil society, we were always strong supporters of the European Citizens Initiative. And I share, of course, the concerns and also the recommendations how to reinforce this instrument, because, to be honest, it has lost a bit its dynamic, I have to say. I remember years ago we had more initiatives also in our plenary session, and we are absolutely committed to promote those citizens' initiatives that have already gained some support, to promote them also in our plenary session. And I think we will do this in the future. But I think there's the question of accessibility, which is still a bit too bureaucratic. And there's the question of financial constraints, because we say in principle, each and every citizen should be able to launch such an initiative, which is not the case, to be very honest, at the moment. The second point is manage expectations. We know that this is a an instrument of direct democracy. I think it's good, participatory democracy, and we should make sure that it has impact, that there's a clear follow-up. We cannot promise, no one can promise that it will be adopted as a law afterwards, but it should be taken into consideration. And the same is true for your recommendations here. We are doing it here, we do it in our opinions. This is key to increase the trust in institutions like the European Parliament and like the ESC. So therefore, maybe we can do something together very soon to revive this instrument. And allow me 1 minute on the recommendation before, because I think it's important. Education, lifelong learning is often mentioned, but sometimes then it's overlooked in practice. I think it plays a critical role in overcoming divisions and this harmful polarization. So therefore, I really appreciate your recommendations. And let me say also, we should, when it comes to this hate speech and polarization, we should really prevent ourselves that we get this fatigue. We get a fatigue, actually. The exceptional gets the new normal. The war in Ukraine is somehow a normality. What happens now in Gaza, we cannot see it, we cannot hear it anymore. Belarus, I just had a very good meeting again with Hannah. I think we have to make sure that this is not the normal. This is really something we have always to insist that this should be overcome. And if the US president sends a tweet where he asks the impeachment of an independent judge because of a judgment, then this is something. Sorry, I'm searching for words, actually. This is something we cannot say, well, he is like this, don't take it too seriously. No, we have to stand up. If they push back, we have to march forward and to say clearly that this is not acceptable and it cannot be the new normal.
Thank you very much, Oliver. It goes back to what Victor said right at the start. We have to be more reactive and we have to be quicker. And sometimes in today's world, we do lose the words we need. We can't find the words we need. And God knows I'm a media person and I am short of words often, given this, the landscape we see. So we continue. And Maite Arondo, yes, European Association for Local Democracy, it's ALDA. And you're talking about towards more affordable, democratic, and sustainable housing in Europe, a major issue across Europe. 2 minutes, I shall give you this. I'm jumping up and down like a jack in the box, but I also have a hand. So if you get tired, you can give it to me. I'll stand by you.
Okay, thank you. I shared the panel the other day with colleagues from cooperative housing organizations and also from the International Union of Tenants. And we reached 3 main recommendations and framed to a great extent to this priority for the first time at EU level, which is housing, the EU Affordable Housing Plan, which is expected to be released at the end of the year. The first recommendations refer to strengthening the investment and regulation in housing, but not only more money, but in a way that it prevents financialization. And this should be done through transparency measures that combat speculation. And also to ensure that this funding is accessed equally across Europe, because the housing systems of East and South Europe are very different from the ones from Central and Northern Europe, and so we should ensure that access to this funding is even. The second recommendation was relating to empowering local authorities and social economy organizations that promote inclusive housing models. We have remarkable examples of this, like, for instance, the city of Vienna with the Viennese housing model. But we have to strengthen their voice and their capacity in the action plan and the implementation of this European Affordable Housing Plan. Also, support community-led co-housing and cooperative housing models that ensure long-term affordability and social protection of tenants. We have remarkable examples of this, for instance, in the city of Brussels, through the Community Land Trust of Brussels. And finally, we cannot talk about housing without referring to homelessness. And the European Affordable Housing Plan should be as ambitious as the European Platform to Combat Homelessness, which should be also a key priority, as well as the Housing First programs that support and ensure homeless services that are effective. And finally, to implement robust data collection and monitoring and evaluation frameworks to improve cross-national comparisons, evidence-based policies that effectively address hidden homelessness and service gaps as recently the OECD has pointed in a report on monitoring and evaluation frameworks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maite. Go back. I'll go back to the panel. Perhaps, Oliver, you want to say a few words?
Very few, because I think this is very much aligned with the demands of the committee. We worked on this for years. Our sections, especially the 10 and the SOC section, worked on concrete proposals to make housing really a European issue, because we know that this is a pressing issue in all the countries. In all the countries, even in the countries, you mentioned Vienna, where we have, I would say, really one of the best models of affordable housing. But even there's a sector of the free market where people have a lot of problems to get affordable housing. So this is a problem everywhere, and I think your demands are absolutely timely. I'm happy that the Commission took this on board, also with the pressure of the European Parliament. I think we really joined forces here in front of the European Commission, but now we have to deliver. And you said it's not only about financing, but it's also about financing. Because if it's only about ideas, then I fear that those countries who have not the financial means cannot deliver. So I think we need also concrete ideas how to provide funding. And I understand that the European Investment Bank is now here very active and will also see if there are possibilities. There are already concrete plans, I think. So this is absolutely supported by us. One point I wanted to mention, and this is affordable housing for young people especially, because we see it more and more that they have big problems to move out from their parents, and this is in big cities but also in rural areas. This is a growing problem, so we have to put a special focus on them. This was also discussed, I think, during YEAS and during many youth initiatives and youth events, and also this is one key priority and key demand also from our Youth Advisory Council. So I think this should have special attention in all the upcoming initiatives.
So really resonates across the board. And Natasha, would you like to say a few words? We still have quite a few other interventions, so I think we'll need to be
just three
a little
sentences.
precise.
It's also, the housing is also really a pressing issue in non-EU member states. I would also like, yes, youth problems are there, but also there is a big housing problem of the older generation in rural communities, which is to be, and let us not forget one important community throughout Europe. This is Roma community, whose housing problems are really significant, and I think that we shall somehow add this perspective, this element into the steps that you identified.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone want to come in? Quick intervention, please.
Yeah, just a comment on this, because in the field of housing, also there is the role of foundations that can also engage. So the EIB is also looking into how to invest, and the foundations that could also come in on the program side, but also potentially on mission-related investments. So there's some very interesting projects also to engage with them. So don't forget them in this context. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go further into our working group. So I have Julia Kluzizinska. She's the Philanthropy Europe Association, and this was about the very important role of funding, which you've talked about, Oliver, and I think is on all our minds as we sit here today, the funding of CSOs. You've got your 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. We had very interesting discussion during our session, and there are at least 3 recommendations stemming from our conversation. I will start with the issue of pure financial dimension of this conversation. We all agreed that it's really needed to increase the public European funding for CSOs. We call to all policymakers for a stronger MMF for the next cycle. It is very important to have a strong European programs like TERF and European Social Fund Plus. When we all mean that it should be stronger, it regards to both volume and quality of spending, in a sense of the simplifying the procedures and making this more accessible. The other issue that came up is the role of philanthropy, and there's a phrase that one of the participants used, that everyone of funding community should do what we can. But if we, as a funding community, I represent the private founders, who would mobilize all our potential, it's essential to make more enabling environment for philanthropy and for donors. This is both important in terms of regulations, but it's also important in terms of the wording that politicians speak about philanthropy, and it's very important for us to have, to hear from all European institutions like European Commission and European Parliament clear, very strong support for philanthropy and for civil society, obviously. And if we had such clear support, then it would be much easier at the national level to build up partnership and to mobilize private resources for public good. And the third and the last remark we had, we fully support the idea of moving ahead with the European strategy for civil society. We think that it's very important tool and framework that should all let us, do the work we are expected, and to fulfill all these ambitious goals that were phrased and named during the last 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. Victor? I think this falls on your shoulders.
Yeah, of course, I'm a strong supporter to increase funding at European level for civil society organizations, and it's not about only to be supportive. I'm part of the Budgets Committee for many years, and I think every year I have at least one amendment in this direction. I negotiated the 2025 budget. I was the European Parliament's rapporteur, head negotiator, and I increased the funding for the Rights and Values program, but also regularly I obtain additional sums even for social partners. And here I want to say something. Not everyone in the Parliament supports it. Even if we obtain something, it doesn't mean everyone supported it. Some people fought for it. Because I was listening earlier to my friend Oliver saying the Parliament supports housing. I'm not going to do advertisement, but only some asked the Commission in order to get our votes for the Commission to put housing as a priority, because initially it was not the priority housing. So I think, of course, we should not ignore that as well. Coming back on philanthropy, I think, of course, we need to reflect on what is happening across Europe. I would love to receive maybe more data. I know what is happening in my region or in Romania. I think we need a way also for citizens to participate in financing the civil society. I think we can identify better ways or expand them. I think it's very important also for people to feel that they are part. And in the same time, when you are not depending on just some people that have the resources, it gives you more freedom also to promote your ideas and your topics. So I think on that, maybe we can explore some ways forward indeed. And on the strategy, of course, if things move forward, I think we need to stand close to each other and to see what to look at exactly. So I think, again, about reaction, we have really to fight for every word. So together with some of my colleagues, we promoted in one of the recently approved by the European Parliament related to the next MFF, a wording related to NGOs, the fact that NGOs should continue to be financed. So it was supported by myself, my colleague Vice President from the Greens, and other colleagues from Renew, and we promoted that amendment together. So 3 groups, we promoted it together, and we got that in the perspective that the Parliament has on the MFF. So I think really, when you are trying to promote a topic, do not only look at the big picture or the big file. Try to promote your ideas also on smaller files or around that file, so it becomes something mainstream and already pre-accepted by the parliament as such. I think also in terms of advocacy on that, you could work so you actually reach the outcomes that you expect.
Thank you for that bit of advice as well, very important. Let's take something from an intervention from the floor, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Antonella Valmorbida, the Secretary General of ALDA. A couple of things regarding the role and how we can support the presence of civil society. Of course, we know that there is now also attack on the role of civil society, but it's also important for us to remember that the role of civil society in the European policies is described in a treaty. So the Article 11 of the Lisbon Treaty mentions that the EU policies should be negotiated and discussed with civil society. So this is the Bible. So you cannot say, I don't like it, let's not do it. I mean, it's in a treaty. So we should also valorize this kind of element. It's not only a political choice, black and white today, but this is written in something which is binding us all. Second, I also would like to say that in the upcoming months and years, yes, we will have to fight for this financial support for civil society, and I really would call for a concentrated, our collective effort on the SERV. There are many ways to support civil society. This is not the only envelope which is supporting civil society, but this is a crucial one for anyone in this room, for sure. And this is this kind of program that can be critical, criticized. It's starting right now, so I will call for a collective action to protect, serve, and not only to protect, but as you did, to increase. Why? And this is my last point. Because this is one of these instruments which is decoding Europe. Europe for what? Europe for delivering. And through the SERV program and through our delocalized small action, civil society and local authorities in every corner of Europe, we are able to decode and bring the added value of Europe there. Together with the working group, with Civil Society Europe and other partners, we are also creating an initiative for revising, Oliver, the indicators of the programs SERV, because we think that very often the quantitative indicators that we all know are based on the number of people are a little bit limiting the added value of the program, which has many other facets that we would like to raise. So together with other colleagues and Civil Society Europe and others which are also in this room, we are working to strengthen, serve, and to maybe work on the indicators to give it more value and importance. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, we still have a few groups to report back. Kristina Velimrovic. Kristina, you are from the European Citizen Action Service, and the question you had is a very important one as well. It's foresight for inclusive, just transition in green and blue growth. So, 2 minutes.
Thank you. So yesterday afternoon, ICAS, together with Volunteer Europe, co-facilitated the session on inclusive just transition and green and blue growth. I would like to thank everybody who participated and for their work and input. And this is reflected in the recommendations I will read now. So first, water resilience must be central to the EU Blue Deal and the upcoming water resilience strategy, which must secure universal access to water as a fundamental right. Binding commitments are needed to address infrastructure failures, pollution, and governance gaps. The water resilience strategy must integrate water security into climate, energy, and economic policies, ensuring long-term sustainability and justice. Second, a just green-blue transition must empower local communities and ensure social justice. Europe's green and blue transition must prioritize a community-led and place-based solutions rather than reinforce inequalities through a top-down approach. The Just Transition Mechanism and the related territorial just transition plans often fail to account for the economic and social costs that are borne by most vulnerable regions, marginalized groups, and workers. Funding remains largely inaccessible to local actors, limiting their ability to shape and implement meaningful initiatives. Therefore, the EU must move beyond consultation and support targeted and proactive outreach and direct its resources to empower these communities in the transition. Civil society and local actors here have a crucial role to deliver policies that reflect local needs. And finally, civil society must have a formal role, as was mentioned here today a lot, also in the green and blue transition. The civil society platform under the Commissioner McGrath must play a key role in shaping climate, energy, and water policies. It should provide structured input into EU decision-making, ensure civic participation, and without formal involvement, the transition risks deepening inequalities and failing to mobilize public support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oliver, would you like to comment? And then perhaps a quick word from someone else?
Thank you. Yeah, very, very briefly, I think what you presented is also a key demand in this House for quite a long time, the green and the blue transition, to make sure that this is also a just transition. And it's not only words. We presented already our concepts, several opinions. One of them I had the pleasure with the rapporteur to present to the environmental ministers during the Belgian presidency. And we hope very much that the Commission and the Council will follow up on this and will make sure that this green transition should not divide or should not deepen further divisions, also social divisions that we have in our society. So therefore, I think the recommendations are very important. Let me say, especially when it comes to the blue deal, this is a new core demand here from our House. I think we can learn from the mistakes that we did with the Green Deal. We should correct them, and we should see that we can rectify this with the blue deal, especially when it comes to a transition fund, a blue transition fund that we are also demanding for the blue transition. And last word, the civil society platform. Let's see how it will be designed. I had a first meeting with Commissioner McGrath. I'm not much more informed afterwards, but he will come next week to our plenary session, and I hope that we will get information how this civil society platform will be shaped. I think civil society organizations and this House should play a crucial role here, because we should not double structures. We should make sure that these structures are used really in a good way, and that it's as inclusive as possible. Let's say it like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's no one else coming in from the panel, we have a couple of other issues coming up that we will discuss. Anyone want to come in on this at this point? Okay, let's go now to Hannah. Hannah Surmatz, Philanthropy Europe Association as well, and also a very important point that's going to be a challenge for all of us working in these areas towards a European strategy for civil society. So your comments, please, from your working group. You're welcome to
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ada and all. It's an important moment that we are here, and the first attempt in learning is something I learned today, so that's a much better way of describing to fail in a positive sense. And also with regard to rule of law, fundamental rights and democracy, it's a crucial moment, and maybe we really need to be able to tell the story differently and the added value differently, so that citizens and everybody believes stronger in this. And here also, I think, how to convince potentially policymakers. It is in the context of more competitiveness and defense, which is currently really high on the agenda in Europe. But in this context, it's our unique competitiveness as well that we have a strong democracy, rule of law, and fundamental rights-based culture. And I think in that context, we should also embrace this. And we should embrace, surely, the European civil society strategy, which was the topic of our session today. And we're very pleased to see that the European Commission has put this in the work program. And we call for this strategy in these challenging times to really be bold and visionary and forward-looking. As Seamus Boland put it, civil society is the oil of our engine of our societies, and that's something we really need to be putting forward. The second call is on the involvement of civil society in designing and implementing this strategy, already then paving the way for an interinstitutional agreement on civil dialogue, which is what we also call for. So really bringing Article 11 to life. The other elements of this civil society strategy should include also a clear recognition of civil society and its political role also in our pluralistic societies. And a call for an enabling environment also for cross-border action. And here reference was made for a swift adoption of the ECBA. So that's really now in the discussion, the European Cross-Border Association Statute that was mentioned, and also a similar legal tool for foundations. Then also elements would be protection and also funding. We talked also a lot about funding yesterday. We heard a summary there as well. But public funding is also very important for the political role of civil society. And that was also core of our discussion. And yeah, I end here.
Thank you very much indeed, Hannah. Thank you. Let me go to you, Gabriela, and then Natasha, to get some quick comments on the very, very challenging moments we face as regards funding and the strategy ahead. So please, Gabriela.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely, of course, agree with everything that's been mentioned, also from the previous conclusions around funding and around the civil society strategy. What perhaps just to emphasize a little bit more is that the civil society strategy cannot be seen as a standalone idea, neither can the civil society platform. Everything should be connected, and particularly the civil society strategy needs to be seen in the wider framework of the European Democracy Shield, rule of law toolbox, etc. So we need to have a really coherent and comprehensive approach when hopefully many of us in this room, in our different constellations of organizations and representative bodies, will be involved in working with the European Commission to develop this platform that will really make sure that it can reach its full potential in that way. On the funding for civil society, I think we also need to stress, particularly in this strategy, the need to fund European civil society networks. We shouldn't be too broad brush about when we're talking about funding for civil society. I think we need to be very specific and concrete that European civil society networks that bring together civil society in our different constituency groups, in our different mission-related causes, that we need specific funding earmarked for our European civil society networks. And of course, the SERV program, as we heard mentioned before, is a unique instrument in that sense, providing core funding for many European civil society networks to continue to exist. So I think this is really essential, and we have to look at everything in a joined up way, and I think together we can manage to do that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Gabriela. Natasha, do you want to come in?
Yes, I would just like to continue what you were saying about the need for a coherent approach. I think, when we speak about the structured dialogue or inclusive dialogue, or as you mentioned, interinstitutional agreement on dialogue, right? It's very important. But at the same time, we need to, as civil society and as duty bearers at the European Union level, think on how to work to reduce the mistrust in the institutions. Because if we have dialogue with institutions that actually don't have sufficient trust among citizens, then it's a problem. So we have to work together in order to increase that trust. Yes. And regarding funding, as I also missed the previous one, and supporting particularly CSOs and civil society, I would just reiterate how important it is that the Europeans support civil society in all these countries where actually the environment for civil society becomes more and more hostile. Serbia is one of them, but there is also Georgia, there are others. Yeah. So that solidarity is of the utmost importance.
Yes, not to mention the attacks on civil society in Palestine as well. So exactly. We have to also be very aware of that.
There are also in the Mediterranean.
Somber moment for civil society worldwide.
The whole list of countries.
Yes, but some stand out more than others, perhaps at this very difficult moment. Thank you very much, Natasha. Let's turn to you, Mr. Negrescu. Important topic for you as well. You'll be in the steering wheel, on these issues, I think.
So, as the colleagues just added, what is relevant, of course, on those specific topics, but not only on those specific topics, is that I think we need to reinforce the dialogue, and I will come back to what I was saying earlier. There are many policy proposals that you just made, and I'm certain others will follow. Many issues that are of concern for you, and I'm certain there will always be new issues that will be relevant and important. But my feeling is that some of them do not reach fully the Parliament, or they reach the Parliament only through some voices that are interested in those specific topics. So what I'm proposing, and maybe we need to consolidate that together with Oliver, we're discussing this, to try to find what is the best approach, bureaucratic approach again, but that will allow us to have this permanent exchange of views. Because today, of course, I'm not able to speak on behalf of the entire Parliament. I'm Vice President, but I'm representing, of course, in terms of interventions, myself as a member of the European Parliament. But I think we need more of my colleagues to listen to you, as I'm trying today. So let's try, based on the very interesting week that you had here, to see how we can do that, how we can coordinate more. Because, yeah, we need inputs, and we need information, and we need assessment. And you mentioned earlier, of course, that at global level there are different challenges, and actually many of your organizations are on the ground, seeing what is happening, being challenged, working with the people. And to be very frank, that information doesn't reach us. So I think it's crucial also, based on the recommendations that you just made, to see how we can do that. So I'm confident we can do it. And by the way, just to give you an example, a couple of months ago when I became a Vice President and Oliver took more responsibilities here, we met, and Oliver presented to me this great initiative that you are having to involve candidate NGOs from candidate countries, social partners from candidate countries here, and that you are bringing them here. And I told him about the possibility for us to initiate from the Parliament a pilot project, basically to contribute also financially to this initiative. And we worked together, we drafted a pilot project, and the Parliament just approved the pilot project. We hope the Commission will approve it as well. So it will be sent to the Commission. But again, just after a discussion, we already did something. So I think in those cases as well, let's see what we can concretely do and how we can identify those people that can take on board your proposals. Thank you.
So that's the 70% that the comment came, that they may be 30, but we're 70%. So thank you for those initiatives as well. Any quick comment on this issue from the floor? So I see two, so I will then really plead with you to be very much to the point. What did I do with the microphone? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Güneş Engin from Third Sector Foundation of Turkey, as also a proud member of ECM. So thank you for your support, and it was an initiative started during the mandate of Mr. Röpke, so I would like to thank him again. I would like to also emphasize the importance that EU uphold its mission to defend the criteria of Copenhagen, not only Maastricht, in these difficult times. We have repeated it multiple times. These are the different times that we are not used to. So, for instance, the funding is quite crucial for civil society organizations who are not upholding only the service provision, but very critical human rights missions. So these are the times that is very hard for these organizations to fundraise, because it's also very limiting regarding legislation of these specific countries, because they are basically not wanting a strong civil society organization. So they do not ease the way to the philanthropy as well. So another part of this picture is that Mr. Röpke has already emphasized that it starts from maybe civil society organizations, human rights defenders, and also, of course, workers, trade unions, but also it comes till some independent chambers of businesses, so it is also a part of the philanthropy, obviously. So these are the funds is going to be cut for the civil society organizations. So we really need these organizations to survive. So really, it's crucial, the EU support. Thank you.
Thank you for restating that very important point. And a quick intervention from yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Eric Pestel of the Hub Culturel Européen. I think we agree that the best ambassador for European democracy are actually the European living in another member state. And there are a lot of them in this room, I guess. And I think we should rely more and involve the association of the community of these Europeans in the different member states. And one way of doing it could be to extend the different programs, such as Horizon, Erasmus, and so on, to actually the cooperation and partnership between these European association or representing European citizens in the same country. Thank you.
So, an idea there for you. Let me now go to Adam Mortari. I'd like the microphone, or you can give it to Adam, student, and he was participating and is reporting back on Your Europe, Your Say, giving youth a voice. So, please, Adam, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here among such a great panel. Last week, I took part in EESC's annual youth event, Your Europe, Your Say, or for short, YEAS. Roughly 90 young people from across the EU, candidate countries, and the UK took part. During my time in Brussels, I've seen that some of you have years of experience in this, and people like me and some others, you know, are only getting started. And that's exactly how it should be. We need a balance, a mix of voices so we can all come together and make a real difference. Yesterday, Cesar Luena asked, where are the young people? Well, we're right here, and we're taking action. He called on young people to put the pressure on for climate change, and that's exactly what we did last week at YEAS. But it's not just about climate change. We care so much more about other issues across Europe, and we're ready to step up. We're not just here for ourselves. We're here for all the young people who don't have a voice in these discussions. The truth is, young people are underrepresented in the democratic system. But that doesn't mean we don't have ideas, opinions, and a vision for the future. Listen up. Take us all seriously. So what does Europe mean to young people like me? Europe means hope and inspiration, equal access to education, opportunity, freedom to travel, freedom to speak, democracy, shared experiences, and a sense of community. We're living in tough times, and the only way to get through them is by standing by our values. We have to work to make the future better. At YEAS last week, young people spoke up about the issues that matter to us, including life in rural areas, safety and security, transparency, healthcare, housing, climate change, equality, and active citizenship. Some of these issues I knew about before. Others, I had never really thought about them until I came here. That's why events like YEAS are so important. They open our eyes to what's happening across Europe and show us that we're all in this together. Following this experience, I will make a presentation to the students and teachers in my school. I will encourage my friends to get involved and have a say. That's how I decided to apply to take part in YEAS. I will return to my hometown, Balbergen. I will think about the rivers in my town and the water I drink. I will speak to my local representative. I will think about what is happening to young people in Europe. I will take President Oliver Rock's encouragement to keep pushing for change. The 5 recommendations that we prepared during YEAS last week were fighting corruption through transparency and youth participation, active citizenship from classroom to community, equality for all, youth deserves a seat at the table, and a real effective climate change strategy. And now we're asking you to take these recommendations seriously. Prove to us that our voices make a difference. We also want to recognize and thank the adults who support us, including the EESC, the YEAS team, teachers, youth workers, and researchers, community leaders, and politicians who believe in youth participation. Investing in young people isn't just nice to have. It's essential for a better, more inclusive society so that we don't become divided. We want to raise our voices. So I have one final request. Listen to us. Our voices matter. As a Yeas representative, I urge you, give young people more opportunities to be heard, invite us to the conversation, give us a seat at the table, take our recommendations on, because we're not just the future, we are the present. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much indeed, Adam. Indeed, you are the present. Mr. Vice President, do you want to come in very quickly on this? I think Adam has said it all, but maybe you have a word of encouragement.
I don't think you need encouragement. You already know what you have to do.
No pressure.
And you are great in pointing out what you expect to happen. I really like the fact that after you mentioned the topics, that you are going to take those topics on board and talk about them in your hometown. And you correlated those big topics to what you usually encounter in your town. I think this is something that we also need to do. So when we do policy here in Brussels, we should not forget about our hometown. That what we want to push for here in Brussels needs to work in your hometown. Otherwise, it doesn't matter, actually, if it doesn't have any impact. So again, I also believe that we need more young voices to be part of the process and of the consultations. And also in the same time, that we should not forget about the young people that do not have the opportunities that you had today. And you mentioned there are many, many young people that do not have this opportunity. Of course, like many of you, I encounter many young people across Europe, and I see them wishing to do more. I encounter those that have opportunities, that use AI. I met recently some students in a school in Romania and asked them whether they use artificial intelligence, and all of them said use artificial intelligence. But I also met a couple of months ago children and young people in a village, and they were not using AI. They were just trying to go to school, follow the classes, but after that thinking about the work that they were supposed to do in their farms or with their families after work. So instead of focusing on the school, they had that in mind. I need to work 3 hours after together with my family to have what we need. So again, clear proposals. Thank you for that. Let us work together, and again, keep pushing for your ideas. And don't get pushed around by older people like us. So trust yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice President, I think you have to leave us. So if you have a final word, it's your opportunity, and then I'll give you the floor up.
So someone described my initial intervention as being an intervention of someone that was disappointed. No, I'm optimistic. I'm ready to fight for what I stand for. And my call to you is also to do the same. I actually wanted to get more energy from you, and I got it. Thank you so much. Because we have a lot of challenges in front of us. I want to be optimistic. I hope that we will win the fight. But yeah, it's a fight. We didn't start it. It's like Russia with Ukraine. We didn't start the fight. It was Russia that started the fight. So here as well, we didn't start the fight, but we will prevail. We will win. So thank you again for what you're doing, for your great work. And you have within the European Parliament a lot of people that are willing to engage with you, work with you, and achieve results, because it's about results at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. One sentence, because I think you really deserve a special appreciation. What you said at the beginning, since you took office, I have to say we have a very close relationship. I appreciate very much how you support our work and how we cooperate, and especially your support on the ECM financing is really crucial. So big thank you from my side also. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so let's move on because I'm running a little late. We are running a little late. So let's have the Slido. We bring you back in a very, very important way. So what key recommendations should be prioritized for immediate action? Let's have the Slido poll, please. So what are the key recommendations that should be prioritized for immediate action? Let's see what it says, what you say. What are you going to say? We heard a lot, 8 working groups coming back, lots of ideas from the panelists as well. And of course, we need to prioritize. And I see that funding, and of course, funding is crucial. We cannot survive if we don't have the right amount of funding. And so that is a very important part of what we're talking about, clearly. Citizens' engagement, housing, and I think if there was anything that's very, very important for you, it is affordable housing, funding, financial sustainability, as you say. So I don't think there are any big surprises there. I'll come to the panelists for their quick reactions afterwards. And digital inclusion, European strategy, everyone's. So I think all of the things that we talked about actually are very much at the heart of your concerns at the moment. Cooperation comes up as well, support Ukraine, support the collective voice of civil society, and there we are. Thank you very much. Once again, we'll keep this research on our records. So now we have completing the sentence. This is your task. And the sentence begins, during this civil society week, I would have liked ... What would you have liked? Go on, tell us. Be honest. What would I have liked? So during this week, 4 days of intensive discussions, you've all been here, what would you have liked? More participation, yes. More young people and children involved, to talk more to people I don't know. You didn't do that? I'm surprised. More young people, more commissioners, okay? More representation of vulnerable communities, it's a very important point there. More interaction? Well, that is an individual thing, isn't it? Learn more of the work of others, more direct and straightforward speakers. Well, panelists, take notice. Learn more of the work of others, more interactive panels, and direct impact. Different voices, food. Okay, I'm going to read it out loud because it's important. Food, somebody hates coriander, so it's very controversial. Thank you, Nicolo. Right. Participation from the European Investment Bank. Once again, EESC is taking note, and we will try our best. All right, this can go on forever. So third Slido, what is your main takeaway? This can go on, and you can keep acting on it, but now we move on. Yeah, what is your main takeaway? What is your main takeaway? What are you going home with? So Adam is going to speak to his hometown as he's promised, right? Bruce Springfield did the same, right? His song Hometown, one of my favorites. So we should stand together and work for political support, meaningful conversations. Good. So there's a little bit of contradiction with what was coming before. There were some very meaningful conversations, but not enough interaction. So I wonder where those conversations took place. We are aligned, and now need to start the work. New contacts, discovering new things, challenge the louder voice. We need a commission that protects civil society, more contacts, lots of allies, very important, and joint work, etc. So very important, and react. I think that was a very important point. Don't you think so, Oliver? That was made by the Vice President of the Parliament as well. Talk to young people, synergies. So these are good, absolutely important takeaways. So thank you very much indeed for that. Now this is your last opportunity to say something, very quickly to us, to the panelists. So if there's anyone who has this burning, burning desire to say something, to vocalize something deep down inside that needs to be said now is the moment. 3, 2, 1. Right, we move on. Okay, so I didn't see any hands go up. Right, so now I'm going to turn to the panelists. We've come to the end of this conversation. I thought some really, really important messages that got through, some really important concerns and priorities that have been voiced. And I would like to give each of you a minute, starting with you, Gabriela, to try and form your last thoughts and tell us about them.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for what has indeed been an invigorating and inspiring Civil Society Week. So thank you for everybody for all the time and effort and energy that's gone into preparing the week and then also being here and making it so enriching. I think that the main takeaway is that we can't wait. We shouldn't wait to have finally the interinstitutional agreement on civil dialogue. I think we cannot risk what will happen in the next parliament elections. We cannot risk what will happen in the next formation of the European Commission. And we have to try to grasp this time now, this space that we have to make sure that we can future-proof our democracy. And one of the best ways, I think, of future-proofing that democracy is to make sure that we have the interinstitutional agreement on civil dialogue and we really put Article 11 finally into practice and making sure that democracy and participatory democracy through representative civil society organizations is really at the heart of creating the future of the European Union that we all want to see.
Thank you very much. Natasha?
Yes, thank you. I would like to thank you all.
Can you hold this closer to you?
Yeah, like this?
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
Yes, I would like to thank you all for this wonderful week and all the inspiration that we will take with us home and that will enable us to work together at present and in the near future, I hope. So I think that I would like to stress at the end is that we always need more interaction, more exchange, more participation, and also on general level, I would like to reiterate the need for more solidarity, and particularly with those people that are living in underserved communities, marginalized groups, whose voices need to be better presented in our communities and in our institutions. And I think that we all work for this, and this is, a demand that I have on my own, and I hope that we share it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Oliver, you have the final word.
Thank you very much, Shada. Let me say one word to Adam, because your presentation was really encouraging. So definitely you don't need encouragement, but I have to say institutions do need encouragement. So it's good that you are here. It's good that you are all here, because I think all the institutions, the parliament and also our house as organized civil society, we need this interaction and we need sometimes inspirations from outside. And therefore it is so important from my perspective to have an ESC that is as inclusive as possible. Yeah, and especially when it comes to young people, but also to other marginalized groups, to enlargement countries and so on. And the young people, I can promise you, we take your positions seriously. We don't listen only to you here, but we will make sure that there is a serious follow-up. And tomorrow I will meet the Commissioner for Youth, Mikalev. I will submit the proposals of YES last week, and you know I was there, and it was really encouraging. But we will follow up also at our plenary session, where we will have Kristina Bulvasova as YES representative, and together with Prekena, reporting from this Civil Society Week. So there will be a follow-up. I promise you, we will take this absolutely seriously, and I think all your recommendations deserve really highest attention. So thank you for this. And then my really last word is to thank everybody, and also the team. A big shout out to this incredible team here at the ESC that organized this fully packed Civil Society Week. Also the civil society members from our liaison group, the ECI partners, some of the YES participants. So I think your passion, your unwavering passion and advocacy serve really as an example, as a beacon of inspiration for all of us. And once again, we will continue this. We will continue next week in the plenary session. I have to say, I think it was a strong signal, a strong call from vibrant civil society, from a democratic civil society, and I'm really proud that we have organized this together with you. So thank you very much to all the colleagues who made this sure, and also to you, Shada. I think, as always, you did a brilliant job. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Oliver. We bring this session to an end, and thank you once again for being so disciplined and so interactive, and for bringing forward so many important ideas to the table. I find all these conversations extremely invigorating, energizing for myself and for what I do, which is basically to try and influence European policy, but I do it on my own. I am not a member of the EESC, but Oliver, you've made me an ally. Thank you very much indeed.